Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to CappingTV. We are here in episode 2 with a whole new, fresh set of guests, except for one old stinky boy left over from the first podcast. My name's Zildjian. I'm here to be hosting today with Dubious.
Hello,
How are you, mate?
hello. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. We've got Elmo.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, mate. And we
That's
have
also known as the 9-year-old frog.
9-year-old girl frog.
Yeah, Legend of Turtis. I'm sure
Legend
you
of
will see me
yes,
in
that's
pub.
right. Yep. And then we have the redcoatzygote. How are you, mate?
Yeah, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, good, bro. And finally, we're running out this podcast with Sean. Hey, man.
Hello, boys.
Hello. Right, so today we've got an interesting mix of people here. Sean has been the medic for several seasons now of one of the longer running top Prem teams, Xenophobia. Well, just Xeno these days.
Yeah, just so you know.
Yeah, we've got Redcoats, who is somewhat of a new school player. Played Demo Man top of Prem in the last few seasons, including a big W in season 20 with the Source.
We season 22.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, that's right. I should keep up to date. Obviously we have Elmo alongside. Elmo's probably undisputed the best scout in Australia, or
That's
I'm washed up.
washed. Okay, most washed scout in Australia.
That sounds right.
That's more like it. And Big Dubious, which you all remember from last week. We've been hey mate. Right, well we're here on Recap to talk about all things TF2. And we thought we might get started with talking about some other Prem players. Basically anyone. Has anyone got any? Anyone got their eye on anybody to as an up and comer for this season?
Two notable players I see are Silver and Goose. I don't think Gooseman's playing Prem at the moment. I think he's in Inter.
He's back up for Jasmine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
As far as I'm aware, he's still back up.
Yeah. Well, Gooseman, about I think 3 months ago, suddenly decided to hit every pipe in existence. So I'm not sure how that
he's
happened.
Been doing that for a while, man. It's just he's decided to not play on the same Inter team because he was doing the same Inter team for like the last 4 seasons.
And Silver has been honestly just playing really. He's been playing for a while now. I'm not sure how long. Probably season 14 onwards. But he's really stepped up this season, I think. And his scout is on point.
Is he in a Prem team?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, he's on Ivan's team.
Yeah, he's on Cut for Essence, right?
Yeah.
Speaking
cool.
of that, I think Ivan is a player that has improved a whole lot over the past season.
Massively. Yeah.
That's totally true. His Demo Man is up top these days.
Did Ivan and Silver? They beat Rocky, didn't they, on a map? Was that because
Yeah, they
of
beat
Ivan
Rocky
and Silver?
They murked down on Pocket and down owned them, but
Oh.
they still like
Fair
that's still
enough.
it's still like impressive, to be honest. Like that's pretty much all of those players' first seasons in Prem on their respective classes, and they like beat people that have been playing for years, like Rocky and all that.
He's only played,
Ben,
3
Moop,
seasons of Prem,
Arnold.
though, mate.
And
That's
yeah,
true.
Moop and Arnold and whoever else.
Well, Ivan and Arnold lived together for a bit, and they I think a lot of Arnold's good play rubbed off on Ivan, and they watched a lot of demo. And we've also seen Mac, who's Arnold's brother. He's also gotten really good lately.
Is that who Mac is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's a smaller,
been the
more
only one who
punkish
didn't know
Ivan. Sorry, Arnold.
A punkish Arnold.
Yeah, basically.
I think that's what he literally just like plays Prem pugs no matter like what class he can play, which is like always useful getting to play like in good pugs rather than playing shit pugs and pounding.
Which he does as well. So lots of
Oh.
TF2 for that boy.
As long as he doesn't get,
Yeah, I'd
fat
say
kid
Mac's
from
another player
PUBG.
who's improved. Like Ivan, for example, like before this season, he'd like pretty much never played demo at all, to my knowledge. And then
Or at least not in a season.
like he'd occasionally play it in pugs, and he was
Yeah.
like terrible at it. Like, absolutely.
Why is he
And
good now? I haven't really, honestly, I haven't noticed.
he
Sorry,
he
Ivan,
watched.
but
I'm pretty
please
sure he watched a bunch of demos and like just started playing a ton of like open pugs on demo, and then eventually graduated to playing like pug champ on demo, and just like he just over time just got better. I guess like just learned the basics of the class. Like at this point, I would consider Ivan like easily like a mid-prem demo, which I did not think I'd be seeing.
Yeah, that's
At the
Can
start
you-
of the
massive praise.
season, yeah.
Can you give us some rankings then of the demos, Redcoat?
That actually leads perfectly onto another question that we had, was that we were going to talk about the strongest players in each class from the top division. So yeah, let's should we hear some red coat opinions on demo men in Prem?
Demo men, I'd say like overall, like in terms of impact, I'd say Paulson is still like easily the most impactful demo in Prem, just because of like his calls and his experience, and he also has like pretty good mechanics. Then there's Doge. I would rank next, who's just has insane mechanics, pretty good calls as well. Good positioning, just generally pretty good.
And then for Nefarious, they've actually got two pretty solid demo men on their roster.
Deft would be the
Movement
next
Deft.
person I'd rank. He's
Cool.
like, definitely like strong DM, very good mindset towards the game. Just pretty solid player all around. Like, can't say anything bad about him really.
Of course.
Who else?
I would have Crud or
Yeah,
Ivan
Crud, actually.
probably after that. I
Yeah,
think
what about
Crud is really consistent. Like what you were just saying about Deft. I think just from a consistency point of view, like I would say Crud is like a lot more consistent than Deft, but just not as good as like peak Deft.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Like when Deft is like really on, he just absolutely annihilates, like doesn't miss a single shot and is just like in the zone. And then Crud, I would say is also like really solid. Like I haven't played with him very much, and I think he's recently had like a pretty big break from the game, like for a couple seasons without damaging playing. But like he's come back this season, and I haven't personally been on like a core roster this season, but from the games that I have played like against him, and I think I've played with him in a pug or two, he's seemed like a solid player, really solid.
Totally. What do we think about the matchup of Crud versus Ivan on demo?
That'll be interesting.
I'd say that's probably a pretty even matchup.
They finished the season 4th and 5th on their respective teams.
They're both not aggressive demo men, I'd say.
I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like Ivan can be pretty aggro.
Ivan
I
is a heal
disagree.
sync demo.
Yeah,
I don't think
Pugs,
Ivan's all
like,
that aggressive.
He gets perma healed though.
Ivan's
you would
idea
hope
of
he's
demo
aggressive.
demo's pocket, center of the.
Someone put it well the other day, and they said that Ivan's like a budget Paulson.
I mean, all right. All right. Well, another thing. Well, okay. So there was sort of a bit of an idea of demo man. Now, maybe if I could turn to Elmo here. Is there anybody you got? Well, could you give us sort of a little bit of rundown of your flank scouts of Prem? If you're aware of any.
Yes. Well, I've opened up the voting page, so I actually know who plays. So
Cool.
I know. Down and Sam are probably like the best two at the moment. Like I'm shit, obviously, so I'm down the bottom of the list now. But Sam was like by far the best last season. I think he's cooled down a bit. Like he's still the best sniper. Wasn't he?
Am I completely wrong? Does Sam not play combo?
No.
I don't know.
Well, yes, Sean's right here.
Yeah, I think he plays flank. Just gets healed a lot as well.
He can play either, but he's been playing
and then
flank
down's been
past.
Generally a lot better. Or like this season, I think he's like improved heaps. Or I've noticed him. And then it's probably me, Spade, Silvo. Like I'm still alright.
I'm less harsh on Elmo here. I actually have like Elmo and Sam at like a similar level of skill, followed by down.
Literally my only good.
But that's all. That's the only game that matters, Elmo.
I guess so. But I'm washed up, so I want to be sad.
I mean, not to just blow smoke up your ass, but it's pretty difficult to look at. Hang on, let me just get this. Oh wait, what's your name on Steam right now? You 9-year-old?
Yeah,
Yes.
9-year-old girlfriend.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to look at your comp history where we see best scout Oz 21, best scout MVP, best util Oz 20, Oz 19 MVP, best scout, Oz 18 best scout, Oz 17 best scout, Oz 16 best scout.
But I
15
think more
best
so
scout.
this conversation's probably more about who's the best right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right now.
And I'd say the gap between like Elmo and Sam is non-existent.
Mm. Totally.
Depends. I mean, I'm probably like consistently at the same level, but I think Sam, when he plays well, plays better than me at the moment. It's just he hasn't been able to hit the heights as much this season.
I think like Sam, when he's like really trying and like in the zone, he can easily be like the best in Australia. Like that's just from
And that's, like,
personal experience playing
capability.
against him. But I think this season just probably like half due to the fact that Zeno hasn't really been scrimming that much, and
And
half
he
due to the
works a
fact,
ton.
yeah, it's been like exam season, and you
Yeah.
know he's been
Fair.
working a lot and stuff. So I think
Yeah.
like specifically this season has been like less good for Sam for those reasons.
Totally. I'd like to talk about pockets in Prem as well, but also on that subject, there's something I wanted to ask Sean. In that you've this season picked up Varna on pockets, who's not been known for pocket in Prem for a long time, but it seems to have worked out in your favor. How's it been playing with Varna on pocket?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty solid. Like I don't have a lot of complaints. Obviously, like it's pretty different to playing with Tay. But I mean, the thing with Varna is like mechanically, he's really skilled and he doesn't really play with ego. So as a pocket, he's happy to do the team thing and like sacrifice for the team when we ask him to. So like, can't really complain from that point of view.
Yeah, totally. And then so I guess this season we've got Geo and Rocky are up top on DM and pocket gameplay.
If Tay wasn't back up, I'd put him probably in top 5 at the moment. He's one of the top 5 pockets in Australia, I'd say.
I'd
strongly
put him
agree
better
with
than
that.
top 5 to be
Tay
honest.
would be top 2 with Rocky, like of the actual ones that have been nominated here. It's like Geo, Zildjian's obviously at the bottom. Then Rocky and Tay. Fane's pretty good too, but I thought he was more of a roamer.
Fane's
agree
a
that
really
Rocky's had a strong
roamy
season.
sort of pocket.
I think Rocky's honestly like not necessarily like improved in terms of mechanics or like gotten any smarter at the game, but I think he's altered his mindset enough that it's made him like a much more impactful player. Like he doesn't seem to be playing
He's not
so much
as
for stats
focused
anymore.
on it has to be him.
Yeah, that's what I
Like,
mean.
it's
Like
more
I remember
team
back
focused.
in season 20 when like that was when I played with Rocky my season with him. He like really cared about his stats a lot and would always like think it was just a shit game if he didn't get good stats as pocket, which you can't always expect to get. And that would be pretty bad, and he'd always insist on taking like really high heal percentages and stuff. But this season, like I feel like he hasn't been taking as much heals, has been willing to do like a lot more like plays in order to just make space.
Sort of because of the iron grip of Arnold. Him on medic, I think, has been dividing a lot of things.
I actually
Yelling at
think it's more to do with pugs, to be honest. I think people stopped picking him in pugs, and he was upset about that because he wanted to play, and then he just realized, well, if I want to be picked, I have to change my ways because
Mechanics
one
have
wanted-
been his issue.
I remember there was like a whole like 2-week period pretty much where just no one picked him because every time he was in a pug, he would just like rage at everyone and
And warp the entire game around him.
pretty
yeah.
much, yeah. So I think he just changed, to be honest, because I think he changed before he even started playing in this team. Like I was saying that Rocky had gotten better before this season had even begun, or before I even knew he was on some team. So like yeah, that is another player that I think could like easily take the top pocket spot.
Yeah, for sure.
But I also really rate Tay on pocket.
Yeah.
He like I think the thing I like about Tay is he's also really willing to sacrifice himself. He's like generally got a pretty good understanding of the game. Like he knows when it's a good and a bad time to die. You know,
And he's willing to make lots of plays.
Well, yeah,
See, the other
exactly.
thing that I've noticed playing, like, just going from Varna to Tay is that despite when there's like heaps of shit going down in the fight, like Tay doesn't really forget about me as the medic, whereas Varna, like, for doing everything else right, just has like a tendency to like, and I guess like lots of pockets do, where like there's heaps of shit going down and you kind of just forget where your medic is, whereas Tay always knows where I am and like comes back to me at the right time. So
Yeah,
like,
he's a pretty aware player, I'd say.
I think that's a Varna thing in general, though, more than just a pocket thing. Varna's
Spaghetti.
somewhat known for that in the community.
Well, someone we haven't talked about heaps is Geo, and I suppose that might be because of
I think
Yeah,
that's
so-
kind of just because he's undisputed, like top at the moment.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I think
Geo
like
just owns.
I'd say at the moment Gio's probably at like, you know, one of his like lower states in terms of like,
For sure.
you know, performance. But even with that being the case, like with him, you know, he took like a pretty big break. He's been playing pugs again recently, actually. So I think he's like, you know, he's in better shape than he was at the start of the season. But
Mm.
even when he was at his worst, I still think he was probably the best in the scene, just because it's like, you know, what he brings to all the fights is just really valuable. Like he always just has this kind of really good like sense for like fights, when he should be jumping, like what he should be jumping, what he should be looking at. Just like, yeah, generally really aware of like what's happening in fights and how he should try and influence the fights for his team to win.
Totally. All right. Well, I don't want to stay on this for too much longer, but should we have a little quick talk about medics in Prem? Because there's a pretty nice lineup of medics this season. We've got Dave, Halfrong, Mac, Sean, World's Blankiest Blank, Arnold, and Frank.
I think like Dave is by far and away the best medic by like quite a margin.
Yeah, I mean,
and there's probably a gap, and then like I'd put myself and Arnold sort of in like the next bracket. Then
Yeah.
like
I'd agree
Halfrong
with
and
that.
Mac, yeah. Like, and I'd put Locke probably with myself and Arnold as well. But like just Dave's ability to live, pump out heals, sort of like be really self-reliant and just kind of like commit to his team, but just always knows when to get out. Like, but so consistently. I think it's just massive gap.
Actually, speaking of Locke, what did Locke play this season? Because he's not been nominated for
he was
medic.
back up.
He was him and
Desmond.
Dave. Me and Paulson had an
that's right.
argument about this. They played half the games, but since Dave is technically core and is probably playing for grand final, we nominate.
I don't
I
think
see.
Locke's ever really recovered from those grand finals.
What last
What,
season?
where he dropped
Yeah.
like 4 times. Yeah.
It was like 6 times in a single map. It was
That's pretty rough.
rough.
Yeah.
Doesn't drop to idiots. Come on,
Yeah.
that's fair.
All right. Let's
Wait.
leave it on.
Wait.
Oh,
Where would you put Doge, Sean, if you had to
if
put him on that list?
Doge is as good as Dave, if not probably
Yeah.
better.
I
Even
agree.
after his
Definitely would
4 drops on Snake Water.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, Doge didn't play medic this season, but like of all the medics that I've played with, Doge is like my favorite to play
Yeah,
with, even
Doge
though
is
I haven't played on a
incredible.
team with.
I thought you
I-
were a pretty big fan of me on medic with you, Redcoat.
he's got that same kind of quality that like Dave has, just like kind of knowing when to get out, but he also, like, Doge is somebody that really cares about the game as well. So he like, his comms are always like really kind of, you know, he knows when to add urgency to his comms, and he's like, you know, I just think that aspect of it, like caring about the game and knowing, like, you know, when to let your team know that you're in danger and all of that, is, I think Doge does that better than Dave does. I'd say Dave could easily do it better, but I just don't think he's like, you know, I don't think he cares as much to.
It's also the benefit of playing in a team with Paulson, where you don't have to stress about your calls as much.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. I'd like to move it on now, boys, and have a little chat about a topic which I think, Elmo, you suggested that we have a little talk about.
Quick note. Best
nope, well,
rumors
okay,
at the
alright.
moment.
Yeah,
Best
All right,
Just
all right,
pause
we
and
can all but
hurts.
rumors.
Just pause and hurts. They're
Pause and
fucking
Hurts?
amazing. Pause
I'd
is
say
really
Hurts,
creative.
Yeah.
Hurts just fucking aims like a god.
Yeah, this season I'd say Hertz has been really
So,
on point. Not that I've actually played, but like for the things I have played, he seems like he has like been destroying pretty hard, especially from like Sam complaining about him constantly.
Totally. And also
just
like
as a quick
Shifter.
aside,
Mhm.
I was just gonna say, like, if we're not gonna touch on it, Cookie is the best pocket scout by a huge margin as well.
Yeah, he's replaced me in the Paulson demo, sadly.
All right, sorry, I wasn't trying to cut us all off talking about those roles there. I just thought we might move it on to another topic here, suggested by Elmo, I think. Was that I believe what was it? Season 15 had only 6 teams in Prem, and from then on it's been, or 16, maybe it was season 16. No, season 17, something like that. But
I think one
yeah,
or two seasons had 6 teams. There was the one team with one time there were
Yes.
5 team Prem because of Spire Kings have feelings too. Thanks, Rocky. I swear there was another season that had 6.
yeah,
So I was
it's
just wondering.
it's season 17. So we had the Hardys, Elo Assassin, Intoxicated, 219, the Pencil Jumpers, Xeno, and Damage Inc. were the only teams in Prem. And I was just wondering what everyone was sort of feeling about whether or not a 16 Prem is fine, or is it, or if it is bad to play in, or shows that the game's in a bad state, maybe.
I think a
Well-
16 Prem is better than an 18 Prem if there's only 6 teams that can kind of qualify for being Prem. Like if there's if the 2 bottom teams are literally as good or like, worse than like, or around basically the same level as just the inter teams, then I don't think they should be in Prem because they're probably just going to have an awful time, especially if they don't want to be, like.
Yeah,
the
some
wor-
teams end up basically just giving up. if they
Yeah,
get
just
put
like
in Prem.
dying.
I
Like I remember back in
remember,
season 20, it was pretty much like there were some teams at the bottom and I don't think they wanted to get into Prem, so they pretty much just trolled in every game that they played.
Well, that was Datitude, basically. We were put in Prem, and it was, like Emerald and Dorky coming back to the game. They didn't really want to play Prem. It was meant to be a casual team, and every match was, like, fucked. I think that's what matters, is the quality of games is most important.
Yeah, I've
if you can
hated playing against those teams. Like, it's literally a waste of my time.
Yeah, exactly. It's a waste of both teams' time because firstly, there's absolutely no way they're going to improve or learn anything or like win the game. So it's just decided from the get-go, and they don't want to play. They're not having fun either, so they literally get nothing from it.
And I think it's really simple as well. You can easily identify those teams, and if they haven't asked for Prem, then don't put them in Prem and just have 6 teams. Like, it's not complicated.
Yeah, I'd much
like-
prefer to have like a bye or something than have to verse a team that doesn't want to verse me and that's just gonna like waste my time for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like this season in Prem, we had Salt Free and role players at the bottom of Prem, Salt Free by quite a large margin. But see, that's a bit of an issue, I think, because I agree with everyone that you should, if you don't have the 8 teams to put in Prem, then don't have the 8-team Prem. But the thing about Salt Free is that for the last few seasons, they've been pretty much darting up and down between doing badly in Prem and then winning Inter, and they won Inter last season.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say, is it like it's kind of unfair to the inter teams too to just have like a team that's like, oh, we don't really want to play Prem and like they don't put much effort into winning, but then they just stomp Inter every season.
yeah,
Or do you
see,
feel
that's what happened with Salt Free this season. Except if anything, the Salt Free roster got a pretty major downgrade this season, and then we were moved up into Prem. So
Or do you
last
feel
Yeah,
season,
so
like
I'd say
it's-
you should be able to look at that and say that like the top 3 inter teams would probably beat both of those teams, and you probably could
Oof.
have worked that out from the start of the season. Like when you look at there's a lot of Prem players on those top 3 teams in Inter. And
yeah,
I think you could have probably worked it out. Like, I don't know. I don't know whether Salt Free asked for intermediate or Prem, but like,
well, I don't think we asked because we've got 3 admins on the team, including
Yeah.
the league director. But
yeah, so I feel like Salt Free is a bit of an exception to the rule in that case. Then, but,
Well, like another thing that I would consider an exception would be Ivan's team this season. They did not want to get in Prem, and if I looked at that team at the beginning, I would have assumed that they'd kind of just be the like, we have to verse some difficult team. Let's just fuck around. But no, they
Yeah.
actually really tried. They improved a lot.
Which I
they,
think is
like-
actually like absolutely awesome. I really commend that, and I think it's also
Yeah.
can be some of the most fun TF2 you play. I know that for me, season 19, which I know is a bit of a sore spot for you, Redcoat, but when we ended up on Dog the Boys together, I had a lot of fun that season just because we practiced, you know, and we
Yeah, it
wanted
wasn't
we
bad.
wanted
It
to
was-
we wanted to get somewhere, even
it
if
was a bit of
it
fun.
wasn't. Yeah, exactly. And I think so. You know, is that a reason to have?
Well, I think there's
lower teams in Prem?
I think there's a marked difference between like that kind of thing and like the kind of thing that Ivan's got going on, and like, you know, I remember back in season 20 there was like a team called Gar Esports, and I remember like when we had our official against them, like Sam got like legitimately upset, and he like, you know, he typed something in chat. I don't remember what it was, but the admin ended up like actually going to Sam and saying like, you know, watch yourself or something along those lines. Just like try to keep it respectful in the chat.
You mean because Gar was
Because
throwing?
they were just wasting our time. Like
Classic signed unknown team.
Yeah.
yeah, it was a signed unknown team. I don't remember who else was on it, but it was
Ben and KPC and that sort of lot.
it was pretty much just like complete waste of time. They just go like huntsman and shit to mid, and like, you know, occasionally you die to it and be like, oh my god, why do I have to sit through this? And
Yeah.
it's just not fun for anyone. Maybe they're having fun because they're like, you know, ruining somebody else's time, but I don't know why like the league should dictate that you have to verse that team. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I mean,
Fair enough.
they're all fair points, but it's like I feel like the bottom four teams in Prem generally have always gotten like the shit kicked in from the higher teams, like
It's
in the history as
inevitable.
ozfortress. and, like,
you kind of
always
end
has
up with the two
happened.
divisions. You end up
Yeah.
with two separate prems happening.
Like from looking at the results, like role players didn't do like awful against the teams that they were near.
Yeah.
Like
Saltfree
like
did.
Salt Free got a bit stumped, but like you said, they probably shouldn't have been because roster changes, and like they probably would have been all right if they kept the same team. I heard a certain 90 DPM scout would
Was that me? Could have been me.
you can believe yourself if you are. I don't remember you doing that in the Intergrand final, but if that was you.
Oh, right. I know who we're talking. Okay. Gotcha.
It's not
yeah.
too bad. Like most of these games are like pretty close, apart from against like the top 3 team.
Yeah, and also logs don't reveal heaps. Like, I mean, I played in Saltfree this season, so I know sort of how it went. But like
Well, I
a
just
lot
mean
of
the
the games
scores
were
in
closer.
general are pretty
Yeah.
close.
Right.
So an 8-team season is fine for this season, for example.
Do we? Well, was that? Do you agree with that, Elmo, or was kind of the reason you wanted to bring it up because you thought maybe the season wasn't like
No,
that?
I'm fine with 8-team Prem generally, just because I kind of started an 8-team Prem and got destroyed constantly, like for a few seasons, and then naturally just got better, you know. But it's like I remember talking about it in a pug, and some people, I think Redcoat might have been probably one of the people that preferred 16 Prem.
I don't prefer 16 Prem. I'd rather not
Realistic,
verse a
yeah.
team at all than verse a team that's just there to waste my time.
Yeah.
Like if the team's getting rolled but they're actually looking to improve and they're actually playing properly, then you know, great job, and I'm glad that you're doing that because that's how you should try to improve. But
On the note of playing properly, do we want to talk about Pyro in competitive?
Well, this might be a bit of a sore point for people, but yeah, I suppose. Because I suppose apart from the one or two legitimate applications of Pyro in Prem, it's quite often looked upon as a bit of a throw or someone fucking around just playing Pyro to mid or something. But the Pyro is amazingly strong in a couple of different situations. And
Such as holding last, yeah.
Such as holding last.
Denying Ubers.
Yeah. So has anyone got any feelings about Pyro in competitive TF2 and whether or not, being able to use it to hold last effectively, does that just show a good amount of skill from the Pyro to or from the team just to choose the right class for the moment, or is it just a bit of an easy choose Pyro to win push button?
Honestly, Pyro's like literally never been like any skillful at all in
Yeah.
sixes. It's literally just right click spam. Like even it was like OP for a bit, but like none of
Those
that had to
3
do with
months
skill. It was
playing.
literally
Yeah,
just
it
you
was
would like
literally
walk at
the
enemy,
update.
spray your mouse weirdly around it, you get like a 6k somehow.
I
Yeah,
think it was the last
personally,
build that Jack did, where he got 600 damage in 10 seconds with the pyro just from the flames. And during that
Mm.
period, pyro was probably viable to run full time. But pyro does no damage anymore.
oh,
and
kind of.
The
I
thermal
think it was
thruster doesn't. That's banned at the moment. I'm pretty sure.
Which one?
The
Is it?
thruster.
It's actually
Oh.
probably the worst unlock though, because the time you have to like
yeah, it sucks.
The
It
delay
actually
is so
unarmed,
weird.
it's pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't understand how they designed that and thought that was like gonna be useful.
Modern
In a-
Valve
in a
have
pub,
no
it's fun,
fucking
though.
idea.
Is it? I feel like I jump and then I just do nothing and die.
And if you wanted to jump on pyro, why would you not just equip the detonator?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you can actually
Detonator
do
has
better
jumps.
flanks, but it's
Yeah, I don't know.
might as well just play soldier at that point.
My personal opinion with Pyro is like I don't really mind. Like it's annoying to play against because Air Blast, even though you have to aim it a bit more now, is like it's not fun to play against. But if someone wants to play Pyro, then it's like fine. It's
Yeah.
the onus is on you as the other team to sort of just like beat that. And if you can't, well then like that's on you. Like I don't think the class is broken. It's annoying, but it's not broken.
Does anyone think there's a bit of there's at least even a tiny bit of an element of well done for that team who's holding last for picking the pyro because that little
I mean,
not
decision
really.
they made.
almost
Game?
all of them are basically just like everyone does it. Like Badlands
pretty
is
much a
obviously the main
no-brainer.
one. Like everyone knows that you can pyro top right, and like 90% of teams in Inter and Prem probably do it all the time.
Hmm.
It's like there's a bit of skill in like timing it, but it's like it's not really a skill thing to decide when or not to use pyro because that's like the only correct time to use it.
I suppose, yeah.
I feel like sometimes, like on Badlands Last in particular, if they have like a pyro and a gun and like a heavy or something, it can honestly just seem absolutely impossible to do. Because like the pyro, like say you flash your Uber and it goes down to, that's already taking up a few seconds, and then the pyro is like taking up most of that. And then by the time you get in and you're trying to shoot the gun, your Uber's pretty much gone, and you're also getting shot at by a heavy.
Well,
And-
the
We experienced that a
alternative
lot,
there
actually.
is that you
Yeah,
can kill the
and
flank.
like you can't really say the pyro is just like it was just good play from them running the pyro because literally all they're doing is like ADing and right clicking and not even in like a specific timing. They're just like hiding behind the doorway and then peeking out and then right clicking and then going back in. And I don't
The
really
main
know.
issue is like when you get air blasted, it just like completely messes up like yourself. Like you have like no frame of reference or anything. You just get knocked back oddly. Like your momentum and stuff doesn't feel like it matters at all.
Yeah,
I swear when Air Blast first came out, it was alright, and then they changed it. I don't know if they changed it again in the new pyro crap, but like how it feels now, you just like have no idea where you're aiming after you get air blasted, so you can't just destroy the pyro.
Well,
yeah,
pyro
plus-
used to
yeah.
have that.
Plus, Sage
fixed
makes a good
airbox.
point in chat. It's like literally impossible to see the pyro now through
Yeah,
new
why
fire.
we can't modify the flames with graphics configs
Yeah.
like doesn't make any sense to me.
Hmm.
It's probably like half the pyro's buff is just you can't see the goddamn thing anymore.
Model, yeah.
Yeah, so you're just guessing.
Right. So basically, what we're saying is the pyro update has done not much good and quite a lot of bad for the pyro in 6v6.
Well, just in general, they made pyro like less skillful somehow, and it's still
Even though it
bad
was
now
meant to
after
be
they
more
nerfed
skillful.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
essentially.
detonator and scorch shot still do like decent damage, but
The
you
scorch
can't
shot
really
can be fucking nuts
kill
sometimes.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you shoot a closed doorway with a scorch shot, you can easily get like at least like 120 damage off of a couple of players if they're standing there over time.
probably be more than that. I think the best part of the scorch shot though is it blows up stickies. If you like shoot it at the point
Oh,
on
shit.
Badlands, for example, all the stickies just disappear. It's like the quickie bomb launcher.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Well, I reckon just before we take a little break, we should talk about a more contentious issue in ozfortress at the moment, which is the idea of all the other maps that are not currently being played, and the ones that are being played. Now, Paulson pointed out to me, Sean, that you've actually suggested a sort of a different way of playing these maps. Would you like to explain that?
Yeah, so like I initially just discussed this with some of like the Zeno guys, and I've actually like brought it to a couple admins for them to kind of talk about and see what they think. But around like the maps that we don't play or that aren't like classic maps, I guess, so like Sunshine, Logjam, Metalworks, Reckoner, instead of having this really rigid structure where we have to play every map twice, if we kind of change the season, so there's some maps that we only play once, so you could basically like, instead of having a map pool of what is it now, like 7 maps, I think
7.
yeah, you could easily get that up to like 10 or 11, and like for the season that's fine, whatever. But I think come playoffs that could like open up some really interesting things, particularly around like teams that don't scrim versus teams that do, or like yeah, I just think it's like it'd be cooler to have more maps in the pool, even if you only play some of them once, versus being stuck playing like a shit map twice. Like no one's really digging Logjam, I don't think, and like to have to play it
I
twice.
for one love it.
Except Doge.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people. Oh, actually,
Pretty
I
sure
think
most
last,
people in
yeah.
Jasmine like it. I
Okay,
think.
were
as
talking
someone
about
who
it last
doesn't
week.
scrim, I hate it. Like I don't understand it, but yeah, I think I personally would prefer that. And from a lot of the people I've spoken to, they seem to kind of like that idea, but obviously like just kind of see how that discussion goes.
So
I
you'd
don't know, I
have
think it's a
2
pretty
core
cool
maps
idea.
I
and
don't
then
like
side
Logjam.
maps.
What was
Well-
that, Dubious?
So you'd have core maps like, let's say, Snake, Gully, Badlands, that sort of stuff. And they'll be played twice. And then you'll have, Metalworks, Reckoner, Sunshine, that sort of stuff once.
Yeah,
Is that what you're
something
saying?
something
Yeah.
like that, like some various format like that.
I mean,
It's not a
could
bad
you
idea.
also? Yeah.
I'll
I
just
think
give you an
it's pretty
example of
cool.
what like this season, for example, at the grand finals, that we're playing like Jasmine on. There's 7 maps in the pool. Like we're pretty sure we know what Jasmine are going to ban. They probably know what we're going to ban. And then there's like we have to play the next 5 maps, pretending that it goes to 5 maps, and it's going to be pretty straightforward. Whereas if there's like 10 or 11 maps in the pool, it actually like sort of spices that up a bit. Like we could have like decided to scrim for 2 weeks and just get really good at Metalworks, and like
Yeah,
pick Metalworks, you know what I
that sort
mean?
of
Like,
tactical decision.
yeah, and it's like if we wanted to scrim and they didn't because they're like by default the best team, then it's like we could actually try and do something different. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like I just think it's better than the stale kind of format that we've had forever.
Well,
think it's pretty
Viaduct
cool,
used to
yeah.
always be that sort of map, Some teams were bad at 5 CP maps against others, but better on Via. So you sort of had that weird shift up.
Yeah.
That's
I
why
think
they're
it's 'cause
better
Via's
at
just-
Fire against us.
Everyone
Yeah,
just
Via's
bet.
just a
Yeah, we
constant
basically are
vibe.
like we haven't played Vi at all. We're not sure. We're better on 5 CP than them. We'll just always ban Vi no matter what. Like kind of feeling.
Well, should that be allowed? That sort of decision process.
Well, that's the other thing is why do we only have one?
Well, that I
like,
mean, if we,
Koth
I
map in the
know
pool.
all you guys hate.
Yeah.
Well, apparently a lot of people hate Bagel, but I thought it was pretty fun.
I
bringing
enjoyed
2
it,
Koth
agree.
wins.
honestly.
I
Yeah.
don't like Bagel at all.
So what was that? Why is that, Redcoat?
I don't like the way the map plays. I don't know. It feels like really difficult to like cross point as like this is just playing as demo. I've not really played it as other things, but it feels really difficult to cross point. It feels like a lot harder to take aggression into the other team as it is on Viaduct, where like it's pretty easy. You can just easily like bomb your soldiers behind and stuff. Like it just seems more
Well-
kind of, when you have the point, it's harder to take it off the people that have it.
What I noticed with Bagel was that each side room is both height advantage and sort of a. So if you're in one of the side rooms and you want to fight point,
You mean
have height advantage.
next to the point?
Yeah,
Or-
like
yeah, right.
because
So
they
it's
both
really
open
bad
up
to hold the
2
point.
point.
Yeah.
It's bad to hold it, but it's also if you get caught out in those rooms, you get crushed. So
Yes.
you really
Yeah.
have to use them quickly, and you use your height advantage into them.
But there was also ways of doing a bit of a forward hold if you held close to the 2 chokes up front, right? I think that was how I played in that
But-
summer cup we did.
The problem I would say with that is that the left like room, if you're holding close there,
Yeah.
like it's just so easy to get crushed. Like, and you have to have your flank holding that. And it's just like the minute if the combo decides to push that, your flank's backed and they're on like it's just really easy. Like if the team's forward holding, you as the combo just immediately go, oh cool, let's just go like push flank and you just get it.
Yeah.
Like you just get to walk out. It's not like Viaduct where you actually have to break the forward hold. So I don't know. Like from that point of view, it probably does need more work, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I also just don't like the flow of the map. I like it's not really like a good argument because I'm not like saying why, but I don't know. Every time I played it, it just seemed like really kind of stagnant and boring.
I kind of know what
See,
you mean.
I-
A bit like a bit samey. Like
I
each of the
loved
fights
it.
sort of ends up at the same. We all do the same thing. We just like drop away from the point.
Sort
spend a
of.
bit more
It
point.
it seems like really hard to like I don't know to like take a good team fight on the map. It's like all just about sitting back and like spamming, I guess, from their perspective, and it's really difficult to aggress upon them from the the perspective of the team that doesn't have the point.
Mm.
Whereas I feel like on Viaduct, it's a lot easier. Like there's a lot more stuff to jump off of. It's a lot more open. You can like cross point easier as demo, like because of the way the thing's sloped. It's like a lot easier to like shoot over the point and all that.
Yeah. I mean, and like, yeah. So it's quite that sort of geometry on Viaduct makes it super strong for demo men to be able to do that spam over. But it's really not like it's I don't know. Like a lot of people consider
did
Viaduct a bit of a
feel,
DM map, right?
Yeah, Via's
It's
a mid
yeah,
fight
like
all the
Via
time.
is a constant team fight essentially. So teams that are really good in team fights are naturally going to excel on it.
Mm.
One interesting point I think is that Via, just the way the geometry works, is a really scout-heavy map because they can dodge across. You've got China, Rock, Cliff, and like all the little crates. Scout is really, really good and really hard to hit on Via, and I don't think that's true for Bagel, honestly. And that might give it merit as being a Koth map that's not scout-heavy.
And I kind of just liked it because it was kind of different from 5CP and different from Via as well. Like Via's
Mm.
That's a good point,
really
maybe,
sniper
like-
heavy too, and you can't snipe at all really well on Bagel, at least from what I did, and it was just different. I mean, we haven't really played it enough to tell, which another reason I think your idea is pretty. Because like if we play all the maps and we decide we really dislike one, we can just kick it out and keep playing with the other one.
And it doesn't get forced
Plus,
for
it's better than
two
kind of
games.
having like we just have a merry-go-round of like the shit map or the kind of shit extra map that we play anyway. If you get what I mean. Like I
Yeah,
guess
for sure.
Sunshine's kind of accepted now, but like now we have Logjam and everyone's like, wow, I hate Logjam. All that.
And now it seems to come full circle and people saying I miss Reckoner when like 2
Yeah,
seasons ago people were saying the same shit about Reckoner.
I'm fine if we keep Reckoner out forever, but bring everything else back in and play it once. Because then, like, even if you hate the new map, you're only playing it one round and just ban it for finals.
I never really minded Reckoner, to be honest, and I think it's like I hated the mid before because of the double crates, but I think since they changed that, I honestly don't mind the Reckoner at all.
Reckoner actually just has the worst second point in like the entire game. Like,
Yeah,
you
the
actually
second
can't
point.
defend. Like the moment like anyone gets through a door, you're just like, well, that's us. We got
I
literally
think
nowhere
I
to
think
hold. There's no
yeah.
battlements or anything. You just lose, or you have to shit fight.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but at the same time, I think there are ways to do it. Like I think, if like you get an early call essentially on where their combo is, and you can kind of take height. Like there are places to take height on the map, like the hut and the all the geometry around cargo area. Like I don't think people have played the map enough to be able to say like, there is just nowhere to hold. I think there are places to hold on the map. I've only really played it recently in pugs, but the pugs that I have played on it have actually been like fun pugs. So
Totally, and I think I'm not sure who is developing Reckoner, but it seems like they're willing to make those pretty different radical changes. And I think play testing is important, if especially for a developer who cares about it, such as the developer for Logjam. So I think it's a good thing that we've given it a lot of
good run
time. Yeah. But I don't think that we should just get rid of it next season if people don't like it, because that's what happened with Reckoner, and that's what it's what's been happening for a little while now, right? That we play a new map.
I hate about
play a new
Logjam.
map, kick it out because we don't like it, and then rotate to another.
Well,
crap
there's like
map.
a lot of things I hate about Logjam, to be honest. Like, firstly, the mid is just complete AIDS
It's
as
so
Soldier.
bad.
It's terrible as Soldier. Like, be worse than any other map. It's just slopes everywhere. Like, scouts just on high ground don't even have to move. It's just the worst. It really sucks. and then it's like okay as demo just because it's like got a slope to shoot over, but like I don't think you should make a mid that's just terrible for one class. I think that's just badly like organized and not good. Like for like
I would
the map should change
Definitely
essentially.
like to see Metalworks back in the pool.
I like
Especially
Metalworks.
because
I
it's
like
such a
Metalworks
strong
as well.
soldier map. Yeah.
I like we've played some pugs recently on Metalworks. The first couple we played were like pretty bad because no one knew anything about the map, like any of the rollouts. But
It's actually
since
so
then-
good. It's a really balanced map, I think.
yeah, it is
Yeah,
honestly.
and it's
like,
still been. I mean, it's been played in fucking ECA
NA.
from
In
in
season
NA,
to
it's like a
season.
staple in NA. And the
Yeah.
other thing is like something I really like about Metalworks that almost no other map has at the moment is it's like really strong for soldier, like a really strong soldier map. There's like a lot
Yeah.
of flat ground, a lot of like enclosed spaces and things. And that's not even me just saying because like it's good for explosive classes. It's actually like not all that good for demo, but for soldier it's like insane. So
Oh,
I
that's good.
think that should be the case because like on a lot of maps at the moment, soldier just kind of sucks, you know? Like
We took
The-
out Granary, which was like the default soldier
yeah,
map.
Yeah,
Granary
so-
was the map that soldiers could, you know, spend at least 1 week on and like, you know, be happy that they don't have to just like die to fucking scouts constantly. So I think it'd be really good to have another one of those like maps where soldiers can thrive.
I mean,
Shifter
we're
in
still kind
chat
of
makes a good
basically
point.
agreeing. Sorry, Doobie. I think we're
Mm.
basically agreeing that we don't actually know which map we want, and we should actually. It would actually be a good idea just to have everything in at least
Yep.
once.
100%.
Because none of the maps, like apart from like Process, Snake, and Gully,
Badlands, I
everyone
think.
agrees are better. Like they're the best three by heaps.
I'd be happy
Sorry,
to
what
play
are the
Gully
best
only
three?
once.
Snake, Process, and Gully Wash, I think.
Yeah,
Well,
Snake
on
Process
their
and Gully
survey,
Wash.
everyone
Well,
said they
yeah.
liked them by heaps, and then
Yeah.
the other maps were like way lower, generally.
I honestly
Yeah.
like Sunshine as well. I think Sunshine's a good map. I like Metalworks. I think Granary is like pretty good as well. I wouldn't mind actually trying. There was like a experimental like build of Granary that had like changed a couple things.
Granary Pro? Is that?
Mm.
Oh well,
Oh,
Granary Pro is like the one that we're already playing, but it was like the latest version
the
of
last
Granary Pro.
version.
They like
Yeah.
changed a bunch of stuff, and I'd be
there's-
interested in trying that because
Sorry, go for it, man. Sorry.
yeah, I'd be interested in trying that because they've like changed a few really drastic things in the map. Like the second transition is really different. Instead of having just like the shutter on the left to get out into yard from second, they've got like this big opening, like you know, just straightforward. Like if you're coming from last, that
Mm.
like leads onto the point, which is now not in the building; it's now outside.
Yeah, I really liked just the idea of trying it. Like,
And there's like, yeah, like why not try it? Why not like have a go? Because I don't think anyone's played it at all, and I'd
Yeah.
be interested to see if it makes Granary better. Because I think Granary definitely did have problems. Like the way the map played was like definitely, you know, not. It didn't have as good flow as other maps, as like Snake and Process and Gully, etc.
It was a
But-
very stutter steppy map. Yeah. Mid
Yeah.
yard, holding yard is what you do most of the time.
Yeah,
on
and it
gra-
felt very hard to break that stalemate, right? Like,
Hmm.
if the enemy team is playing on the ball, it's very difficult to like get somebody in and try and force. But I think if they made some changes, like I don't actually know all the changes they made in the latest version, but I'd be really interested in seeing like how that affects the way the map's played.
Yeah, see, Thermite brings up in chat that one of the all a bunch of Europeans were pissed off about the fact that whenever we release a pro version, it's going further and further away from Valve's version.
Does anyone give a shit what Valve thinks at this point, though? Like, who
No,
cares?
Not
really
anymore.
don't.
No.
Yeah, I
Look,
honestly, I think
the
the whole
original design of TF2. Let's all agree, Valve's original design of TF2 is fucking amazing, and it's the
Mhm.
reason we all play this game. But new Valve is not old Valve, and I don't think we should really care about the current TF team's decisions.
I think the idea is like people think that if we make it similar to Valve's game, they're going to like support our competitive scene and give us $1 million major.
we
and
went
shit.
through that.
I think
years
it's
not-
ago.
it's
I'm
not-
pretty sure everyone's
Yeah,
given
it's
up on
not
that at
gonna
this
happen.
point.
It just is not going to happen. They would have done it by now if they were
We know,
going to.
yeah.
I guess it's more like trying to bring new people in. Like, if obviously, like if the game's too different from pubs and whatever, but it's like no one plays granary on pubs anyway.
But
'cause
it's-
It,
a
it
terrible
kind of
pub
feels. It kind
map.
of feels like a cool thing to me. Like I remember when I joined, it was cool to have to use connect strings and use third party programs to do everything outside of TF2. It felt like I was doing something special, rather than
It
just
was a
playing
different.
TF2.
It's a different game, yeah.
Well,
Sixes
also, I
to
don't really think changing a map is gonna be like a reason that a new player would not want to play in competitive. Like, I think there'd be like 1,000 other reasons they'd quit before they quit because this map looks a bit different than the one they're used to playing in pubs. Like,
as long
Mm.
as the gameplay is good, and
that's
the
what I
maps.
think. Like as long as the flow of the map is good, it's not too hard to push. It's not too hard to hold. One class doesn't get too much advantage in every situation on the map. Like, I think that's the idea. That's like what
Yeah.
you should want to strive
Yeah,
for.
I
Like,
agree that it shouldn't matter at all, like how the old Valve map was.
because
Pointless to think about.
like old Valve and everything. Like, yeah, sure, they made like a really good game, but you also have to admit that the maps they made were incredibly flawed. They had like a lot of really
Dust
big
Bowl
problems.
Junction,
And
yeah.
granary with gates.
Yeah, exactly. There were
Oh,
like
yeah, I
a lot
remember
of
those.
decisions they made with maps that were just like literally just bad. Like, there's not really any merit to these decisions. They don't add anything to the game. They only make it like slower and worse. And I'd say part of that is they're not really designed around competitive. But
Well, Badlands has stood the test of time, I'd say. Even
I hate
regardless.
Badlands. I wish it
know.
was removed
I'm
from the
pretty
pool.
sure people are pretty mad at Badlands now that they reverted the cap. It's like every cap
I
is
agree
just
with
like
that.
your random
But it's
scout runs on.
just
It's like, oh, you
lost.
win.
I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest. I've hated Badlands for ages. I just don't like how like volatile the map is. Like, especially the mid. It's like there's so little you have that you can do as demo to not just die to someone rushing you. There's no vision of anything. You're basically
Yeah.
on the point. There can be shit everywhere around you and under you, and you just don't know what's happening. Like, someone can just be on you in like half a second. You've got no time to react to that.
I think that last is more the issue though. It's
But
like
yeah, last is
with the
also
two,
really
with the, I
bad.
think they talked about it last week a lot too,
We
right?
did,
Didn't they?
yeah.
Yeah, the time is just like you either never win from pushing on the 2-second one, and so you only get back caps, or you only ever win from just like someone gets on the point for half a second.
Well, yeah, I'd say
Or
okay.
like with the 1 second one, you
Because
just
yeah,
insta win.
they were,
Yeah.
I think they were talking about your team, Redcoat, and Paulson was saying that whenever Jasmine would versus your team, you'd pretty much just have to commit right to the point on last to hold it at all times. Because if you got off the point at any point, then GG, like he accidentally caps it. You're muted, Redcoat, in chat.
Yeah, I mean, I
Mummies-
think
mummies
just
in
like
the
the
room.
really simple thing from Badlands would be just to make the last like bigger so that you could actually like walk in and the enemy team can't just like run into spawn and change off, or like, because a really common thing is to run a heavy at the door that can do heaps of damage, but the
Mm.
minute you damage him, he just like changes off. So like if you make it longer and you walk in with a 2-second cap time, you could actually like frag, kill enough people to actually get players on the point. Whereas now people just live and
Yeah.
rotate through spawn, and you like the minute you walk in, you have to fight. Like, yeah, I don't know.
What I
It's-
was gonna suggest for Badlands is, instead of making the cap just like really short to make it easier to push, instead opening up the doorways to get in. So that would mean they can't just do the shit with the pyro where he just sits on the railing and like peeks out, because there's like a larger doorway that you can get into, and like you can walk around him and shoot him.
Yeah.
Which would make that a lot easier. And I think it would also probably make it easier to push out of last, because they can't just like sit in the in like the doorways to bats and just like spam you as easily. But like the other thing about Badlands that I think is like pretty bad in general is how hard it is to push out of last as well as push into last. The cap time didn't make this any better, because it meant that bat cappers can just easily like get on it before you can really react to it a lot of the time. But in addition to that, the fact that the cap is on top of the spire means that, like, say your scouts died in their last push, but everyone else
Yeah.
lived, it's really hard to get there in time and cap before like risking a back cap. You may have to leave someone on the back cap because the spawns are pretty fast, and it's
Well, it's
the
always
map.
been impossible to push out of Badlands
I
without
mean, that
scouts going
spawn
slow.
timer did actually help that. Like, you say it didn't, but literally you had to get like a 6-man wiper. It was impossible before.
Yeah,
Like,
that
now
is
you
true.
actually can do it. You just have to do it correctly. You can't like really make mistakes.
Yeah, but like if your
You have
scouts are
to just
dead
do
or
it smart.
something,
Yeah.
then-
Well, you probably can't do it if your scouts are dead, but like
and I
that's
don't think
always
that's
going to be
good.
hard.
I think
I mean, that's going to be hard on every map, though. I don't think there are like that many maps we can
I
easily push
disagree.
out.
Like
Yeah,
on
like
on
It's
push
just
out
Gully,
even
process.
numbers, though. Like even numbers.
no, say they wipe and like you just lose your scouts or something. Like, but
you
say
would
like
be
the
able to
spawns
do
are a bit
like be able to
staggered.
cap.
I don't know. You'd have to like move very quickly and be very coordinated. Where on like Gully or something, it'd be like, it's pretty easy to push out of Gully, for example. You pretty much just like leave one guy on last and then, everyone else just goes forward and the cap's like right outside the door. It's really easy to access. You just get on it and cap and then you've got it. But like on Badlands, it's a lot harder to like get on the spire and stay on there when they have like a sniper at choke, and it's really hard to spam them because that's so far away. They've got people going up drop down, which you don't really have vision on from like the point. It's like
I mean, I agree. It's like definitely the hardest map, but I still think it's like not too bad now. Like, and I don't really know what else they could change without like ruining the uniqueness of the map. Like, if you change how like the spy dynamic works, it's like you might as well like not really play Badlands.
well, I think the
if I-
uniqueness of the map is
hang on.
We've been talking about
Hang on a minute,
Badlands for ages.
Yes, I was gonna say, if you want to hear a couple of ideas about what to change on Badlands, and have a listen to the VOD from last week, because I believe there was 40 minutes of conversation between the five of us about Badlands last
Heated
week.
topic, mate.
So
Heated.
it's all over the shop, mate. We've got plenty to talk about there. But I think now would be a perfect time to throw us over to a break for a bit. We're going to collect some questions from chat in the meantime. I think we've already got quite a few lined up. So we'll take maybe, a 15-minute break. And when we're back, we're doing some viewer questions. And then at about 6 and you should stick around for that to catch it here. All right, so this has been recapped so far. 7:50. The other one, an hour later. We are going to go to a break now. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes. Episode.
There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits, you can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been finding ways to get away, to see you again, see you again. See you again.
lose ourselves in the spirit of things. We lose our sight when we put our trust in things of this material world, of things that fade away. Yet we keep coming back, 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 keep coming back. Of things we know.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Recap Episode 2. We're here with Dubious, Left, Redcoat, Sean, myself, Mitch, and Left on production here. We're ready to answer some community questions from the Twitch chat so far. Starting off with this hugely, highly contested question coming directly from one of last week's guests, Paulson, and it's how gay is Elmo?
It's pretty gay.
And there we go.
Yeah.
That's on you, Scott. That's
Any
why.
as gay as you want me to be,
Alright,
Paulson.
see you next week, guys.
We'll
Thank
discuss
you.
it in bed later tonight, Paulson. Don't you worry.
There we go.
Ooh.
Oh,
All right, moving right along. We have a question from Ghost here, which I thought we could mention. We've got a couple of very lots of people here play a lot of pugs, and this comes from Ghost, and it's to an extension of someone called Gamer. And this is why don't open and interplayers play more pug champ, and do we think there's a way to sort out the fact that they don't get picked much, and
We'll
there anything
answer
we can
this
do to fix that?
sequentially, I think.
Okay.
Like each person gives their answer.
Sure. Should we start with Big Sean?
Sure. Well, like for one, I don't think PugChamp was particularly designed for open and interplayers. Like, I actually know it wasn't designed for open and interplayers. So there's that. I also just think like there's the as a prem player, like obviously I would probably only play med in PugChamp because I'm not good enough at everything else. But then if I am med, I don't particularly want to play with people who aren't as good as like just bad players. Like, it's not fun to play. It ruins the experience for everyone. Well, like if it's particularly like one-sided, or there's like you have one really bad like med or demo man, it can literally just like tilt the pug. So I don't know, like I just think there should be a different system for people who aren't like, I don't know, like I don't actually have an issue with the way it is, to be honest.
I guess that might come because we're everyone here is, apart from myself, gets picked fairly regularly in PugChamp. Right, but let's hear an opinion from Redcoat.
Well, the reason why open interplayers don't play, firstly, they do a fair bit. Like, there are quite a few inter and stuff players that play PugChamp, but I'd say the main reason why an open or interplayer wouldn't play is because when they add up, they don't get picked, because the way the system is balanced, essentially, is, there's two captains and they will pick the best. It's obviously subjective who the best player is, but they'll pick whoever they think the best player is back and forth until both teams are full up with players, and then they'll play against each other. So then naturally, if you're a player that, is not seen as good as the other players added, then you're not going to get picked. The thing with that is, like, the solution to that is there are actually 2 servers on PugChamp, and I'm 90% sure that there are almost always 12 like open/inter players that aren't playing a pug that would play a pug if there was just one going. But then I think a lot of them are too afraid to add up because I think they're just going to get fat kitted. But if there's already a pug going and there's just a bunch of people sitting in the queue waiting for the next one to start and hoping they get picked, then why not just add up and try and get the second one going? Like, there's no reason not to. Like, if it doesn't
Yeah.
start, you don't play.
Totally.
And if it does start, then you get to play a pug, which is good for
Yeah.
everyone.
And do you agree with that, Elmo, or is there anything else you want to add to that? Elmo. Cool. Dubious, anything? Looks like Elmo's just DC'd there. Might have lost some.
We'll see
Elmo
We'll
internet.
see if
It's
he
alright.
comes back.
Pick it up, Doobie.
I want to make a point on PugChamp that I think the reason that it's become so I don't want to say competitive because a lot of the pugs aren't necessarily competitive. And everyone memes, right? But it's due to the way that the drafting system's set up. So if you captain and you see the players you need to pick, you can't necessarily give the other captain really, really good players and turn it into a 5-0. There's an actual pressure to make sure that your team will do well, or at least it's a good pug, and that means you can't pick your friends. You can't, unless they're good, unless they fit the right role. Like with a lot of other pug systems, people are pushed onto different classes, or it's with TF2 Center it was just add up to the class you want, and then if games fire from there. But with the way the drafting system works, like drafts are honestly fun, and it's an interesting way to think about the TF2 community, but it puts just pressure to pick good players, and that's why people don't get picked. And then
But do you
they
think
get
that's a good or a bad thing?
it's if PugChamp is meant to be Prem pugs that are just Prem players trying to just scratch that competitive itch outside of scrims, that's fine. And
well, I think it's sorry, but I think it's more aimed to be like instead of I think the words to describe it is not Prem pugs, but it's competitive pugs. Is that correct? So you like PugChamp is designed for those players who want to win or want to try.
It was originally brought in as Prem pugs. I was under the impression it was.
It was made as an
TF2
invite pug
Center.
system originally.
Yeah, because TF2 Center was full. Like you would get stuck because it's a first in best rest system, which is good for other kinds of games. Like you would get stuck with people who weren't good every game, or were throwing every game, or just toxic people.
That would
and there was no
balance
way to
out,
regulate it
but
either. There was no, because like in PugChamp, essentially, if someone every game is just like fucking around, trolling, going pyro constantly, they just don't get picked, and that's the way that situation naturally resolves itself. Whereas on TF2 Center, there's no arbiter on each team deciding like who is going to be on my team, who do I want to play with.
Yeah.
I think it's
And I think
fine
that's
as
good.
long as the Discord pugs are good for interplayers,
Well,
and I think
I think
ABC
PugChamp is
and
good for interplayers, to be
Oz
honest.
NZ pugs. It's
I think if they just added up, I think a lot of them are like afraid because they think, I'm just going to get fat kitted and it'll be embarrassing or something, or it'll be a waste of time. But it's
second
honestly,
server actually starts firing, PugChamp will be so much better.
it will be amazing, honestly, because
I know a lot of people. When PugChamp first launched, a lot of people were getting fat kitted over and over, and
So
it
they
became
just stopped
harder and
fighting.
harder to it became harder to link it to people and say, hey, come play PugChamp, and they're just no, I got fat kitted like 7 times. I'm not gonna play.
That's certainly something that I can talk about because I'm kind of on the fringes that I can be occasionally picked in Prem pugs and enjoy it and have maybe not do as well as the rest of them, but I can sometimes play it. But a lot of my time on PugChamp is spent sat there in the queue. So I agree with both sides here actually, because I think it's annoying to have to do that as an interplayer, but also it's totally fixable if the rest of the interplayers just fucking add it up, and then we could start the second game. And then the second game would be already quite good because there's 100% going to be some players who could probably have played in that top pug who didn't make it to the top pug. So that second game is still competitive and good for the newer players who are there because they've got some more experienced players in there, and it can be basically how TF2 Center used to be, how you could be a really inexperienced player and end up playing on a team with half of Jasmine.
And that's how people get better, of course.
Another thing I really like about PugChamp is like you only have to play the classes that you want to play, essentially. Like with the exception of like sometimes people add up on medic if they don't want to play just to get the pug started. And, good on them. But if you just hate playing pocket and you just don't want to play pocket, then you just don't add up on pocket and you literally cannot be picked on pocket. So that means like you're not in some string pug where like no one wants to play pocket and then you're forced onto it and you have to just spend this whole pug playing something you don't want to do and it's just boring. Like you don't want to do that. Or like if you have no clue how to play demo, you don't just like get picked and then demo's the last class available and you have to play it because that's how the pug works. Like not only would that not be fun for you, but it would probably ruin the pug for everyone, for your team, because you don't know what you're doing on demo, so you're just going to get crushed, and that's going to mean that the pug's pretty one-sided, and then the other team is not going to have like a very competitive experience because they're just crushing the other team, which is never fun either. So I think that system is good for that reason.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the pug champ could be good. And no, sorry, is currently good, but could be better for more inexperienced players. But it's actually it's actually on the inexperienced players.
Yeah,
Start the
to make
second
it.
server.
I agree, Zildjian. And also
yeah.
to add to what you were saying before about like, sometimes, there will be good players left over. Like that's certainly true. Like recently we've had like some really high level pugs where pretty much everyone in the game is like in one of the top 3 prem teams. And in those types of games, even like pretty good like mid prem players that maybe are only added up on one class, or like even like a high prem player that's only added up on like a few classes or something, may get fat kitted just because, not because they're bad and the other person doesn't want to pick them, but just because there's better options, or maybe the captain wants to play the class that they're added on or something along those lines. So the second pug doesn't have to be this like AIDS like TF2 center experience. It can actually be like a solid pug
For sure.
like, quite a bit of the time.
Yeah.
So I don't.
So yeah, I think everybody, if you're an open player and you miss playing more pugs more regularly that are outside of the Discord server, add up on PugChamp in the next few nights, and let's try and get a bit of traction going for the younger players out there. If this podcast helps that, then that's fantastic, and we'd like to get that going, because I think that playing TF2 is a good thing for all of us.
I'd say the main other reason why people wouldn't add up on PugChamp is like if they've been picked in a pug and they just had like a really bad time, whether that's getting stomped by the other team and just not wanting to play anymore, or having somebody on your team be like really toxic towards you and calling you like a retard and everything.
As an A side, I'll just say like I had really bad experiences with pugs when I was like starting in like Div 5, and like the easiest solution was honestly just to book a server and jump in a mumble and like just hit people up and just do like a mumble pug. Like you get to play, you get to choose who you play with, and there's like way less pressure. Because
Speedy pugs were the prem pugs for the longest time.
Yeah,
and that started in that way. Yeah.
I think like it's really easy. Like we have everything. Like you doesn't have to be mumbled. Just like Discord, everything is free now. Like you can just book a server and do it. Like it's not hard.
Yeah, it's really easy. I'd honestly say it's less easy though than PugChamp, where literally all you have to do is press one button and then you add it up for
but if you're having issues like where you're not getting picked and you can see there's 10 people sitting there and like you've got people who on your friends list who would play but they don't want to play PugChamp because they've had bad experiences, well, it's easy just like shoot them a string and be like,
well, look, I agree. I think I agree with that, but I think it's also we should encourage people to have a go at PugChamp in the next few days, and just in all time, just see if we can get that second server going and see if we can get a bit more of a better reputation for PugChamp with the younger players.
Another thing is with string pugs, like it doesn't eliminate the whole idea of being fat kitted. Like it's still going to be the captains are going to pick the best. Yeah, there's always going to be a fat kid, and there's always going to be like somebody that gets fat kitted more than another. But really, the only way to solve that is to, I don't know, just keep grinding away at it. Eventually, you'll be noticed as like a better player. If, like, when you start.
And there are multiple instances of that, of people who are currently getting picked all the time in PugChamp who started out
exactly. Like I'll use Ivan as an example. Originally, like when Ivan wanted to start playing demo, he would only add on demo on PugChamp and just never got picked. So he just stopped adding on PugChamp. He just started playing like the open pugs, and then he eventually got better. And now he adds up on PugChamp, and he's like one of the better players to pick a lot of the time on demo. So it's definitely possible to break out of that.
Totally. I think we should move it on. Chat talks through some more questions here. I've got one. Maybe we should talk about. There's got a question here from Pago or Pago or someone. And they ask, has anybody got their who are the best players outside of Prem this season? Basically, does anyone have their eye on anybody
Yes.
anybody in intermediate? Oh, hit me up, Sean.
I think, or MG, obviously,
Well, yeah,
Decap and Nexus
Nexus.
and Gramps, Sage.
See, all of those I think have played in Prem before.
Yeah, are there any up and comers? I know
there's no
nothing
such
about
thing.
intermediate. Oh wow, just washed
Okay.
up gamers that have
Straight
dropped
up,
down.
no.
I can't
I've noticed a
anyone.
couple of people. I don't know if you guys would know of maybe I'm a bit biased because I played with them for a season. But I had a really good time and we're learning and getting better with Bitvault, Xylife, Eels, and Munch at the start, but then he sort of left us after a while. So I thought those were some really promising players with a lot of potential to come up
think
with. And
Bitfault's a good scout.
he's a demo main.
Wait, I've seen him scout, and I thought it was decent.
All right.
Yeah,
There you
Munch
go.
is definitely up and coming.
All right.
Munch has
Well,
some potential.
look. Let's move it on from that. if nobody
Sorry,
else,
we're all
yeah,
Prem elitists here.
none of
so
us, yeah,
don't know any lower.
I don't play enough with other people to know.
Yeah, I know. I think there are a lot of players out there, and I think that. Well, actually, I actually do want to mention. I think Plan Z are really commendable because they've been running with pretty much a pretty stable roster for seasons and seasons and seasons now, and I think that's exactly what you need to see when in Open and Inter if you want to get
Actually,
somewhere.
I noticed someone called Dog Roll in
Yeah, Dog Roll.
a pub recently who was playing really well in that pub.
Yeah,
So-
he plays a lot
Dog
of
Roll.
pubs. Oh yeah, you can actually
Yeah,
catch
shout
Dog
out
Roll
to Dog
in
Roll,
the
actually.
Open Grand Finals right after this.
He like
Ah.
messaged me a while back, or like I don't know, a few days ago, asking me to like review demos and stuff. And he's like only in Open at the moment, so like really
That's
good
the
on him
level.
for trying to like improve like that. Like somebody like that has that level of drive for improvement, and I'm sure he is going to go places.
Yeah, for sure. This question comes from Antoine, and the question is, what do we think about the death of community servers post Valve adding in their own casual matchmaking feature? And we talked about this a tiny bit before we got on air. I think we've got some pretty highly. Well, I think we're all pretty much in
sucks.
agreement.
We
that
all
it's annoying,
agree.
right? Yeah.
That Valve basically killed every fucking community server. First we had the casual matchmaking where you just click a button, you get put in casual servers. They had to be random crits, no damage spread sort of stuff. Damage spread. And community servers just fucking tanked from there, You had the replay system as well at the same time. And the replay system required 2 servers. So the amount of community servers that could run a replay became smaller. So they were the ones that were populated. Then Valve added fucking matchmaking where you click in and you go in, and then community servers got so much less traffic. And then there was Meet Your Match, where they added their 6s matchmaking system. And I think that was sort of the death knell for community servers. And I think, Bunnyco is the only
Bunnyco High Tower.
last
Just Born
true
High Tower.
community server I can think of.
I
Ugh.
think that
That's
there's a
always
couple
accurate.
of random like meme ones, like
Yeah, Hitler's due for it. And all
Hitler's
that.
due
Hitler's
for as
due for
one.
what?
Christ.
I used to be an admin
Australians.
on the server.
Oh, fucking course you were.
It wasn't even that I knew the guy. Like I don't know. I just like
All
played
you
on
did
it a
was
few
go on it
times,
once. Yeah.
and he made me an admin. Yeah,
Awesome.
this was ages ago.
Yeah, I mean, apart from Conquer, which is kind of affiliated with ozfortress.
But that's
the
like
same-
MG,
Yeah, yeah, it's a
You
different
don't
stuff.
get-
Like I
they still surf, jump, all that sort of stuff, but you don't get
the pubs.
default TF2 gameplay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
in
I
pubs.
used to play pubs all the time actually, and
Yeah.
I just completely like stopped after they removed Valve servers. I used to love Valve servers, man. Just like the
Yes, same.
Yeah,
that was
when you
like,
Just
could
how
join
easy it
Valve
was.
server.
Just
like you don't have to queue up to like get into like the game and wait for 30 minutes and all that. It's literally just like you click on the server in your favorites and you just get in, and
And I
it's
think the
always on.
other mechanic that changed, and it's probably more so for people like us who want to play competitively, but the minute you start to roll in a pub, like my instinct was to swap to the other team because I want it to be harder.
Yes.
Yeah,
And the
exactly.
fact that you can't do that, and then everyone on the other team leaves, the server dies, you have to requeue. Like
You don't
yeah,
get
like, I hate
regulars.
that-
Yeah, you
yeah,
don't
I
get
hate
like.
that changed,
Mm.
and I can't just sit in bad water for like 5 hours a night. So it's like, yeah, it really sucks.
Yeah, it's actually amazing how much like less fun pubs are now. I remember I used to be so entertained by pubs, just like sitting
Yeah.
in like a bad water, like a frontier server for ages.
Yeah,
And just like
and these days we kind of do the same thing on Hightower, but like
Well,
yeah,
the-
Hightower is
non-Hightower
the
server.
closest thing I do to
The
pubbing
problem
anymore.
is all the what like matchmaking and stuff. You spend like actual so much time waiting because
Mm.
like it takes ages to get in some of the time, and then
And then
other
it
times,
ends. Yeah.
and then
you
it
fuck-
ends
yeah.
like 2 minutes in because everyone's already left because the map's about to end.
Or you fucking queue up for 30 minutes, and then when you get in, it's the one map out of the lot you chose that you didn't
Yeah,
really want to
don't
play
really
that
want.
much. Yeah.
Thanks for the question, Antoine.
Well, there you go. Now
And
this
yeah.
one is a slightly weirdly worded one, but this is an anonymous question here, aimed at Dubious, I believe, and but I'm sure we could all put a little bit of a spin on it. Now, when is the correct time to big dick it, and when is the time to small dick it? I suppose that really means when do you go aggressive and when do you not?
Right. So I think the best time to big dick it is if one of your teammates is big dicking it, you know? You see your teammate jumping through the choke, big dicking it, being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna jump the demo and then like go really high in the air. Yeah, fuck yeah. Then you do that too. And that's what you do. And that's like aggression in this game. And the right time to small dick it is, you know, when you got disadvantages, you're feeling uneasy about where you might push, you're like, we're already on this path. Actually, no, that's how I describe it. Big dicking it is always taking one route. You always push choke. You always push main to last. You just go, big dick it, we win this. Hell yeah. Small dick it is, they may have fucked us up here. So let's try, you know, let's go big door. Let's go bot riot. Let's like think about it. When's the correct time is when your teammates are doing it. And whoever starts to big dick it first, well, they're the playmaker.
I'll tell you a great time not to big dick it, and that's when the scores are level with 2 minutes left on Badlands in the semi-final. If
See,
anyone
that's
remembers.
the time to
Nothing wrong
big
with
dick
that,
it.
No, we big dicked it and lost.
Unlucky, mate.
I remember that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, we pushed out a last when we didn't need to with Uber and
Oh.
Force.
Well, if it was, you were holding last and it was 2-2.
Yeah, with 2 minutes left.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
the
was
time
like,
to
yeah, it
small
was-
dick it.
Yeah, we should have 100% small dicked it and we big dicked it.
I really, really hope that Mitch is like trying to bleep every swear word in that and then just failing completely, because that'd be quite entertaining. Oh yeah, we got to watch that at YouTube ad money.
Man,
Uh,
Twitch actually discriminates against Australians. You know, this is our culture.
Yeah, this is cultural appropriation.
It is. All right, fellas. I'm gonna ask one more, and this comes from Ben M. Let's talk about grand final predictions. So it's happening on Tuesday, I believe. Is that correct, Sean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Am I? Yep. Oh, all right. We'll talk about all the divisions as well. We got the Open Grand Final coming up in 20 minutes. Make sure you hang around to watch that as well. But yes, let's talk about some Prem predictions first up. So we have Sean and Elmo here, both representatives of the top two teams, Zeno and Jasmine, who'll be playing it out here. Redcoat, you've been subbing for Zeno for this season, haven't you?
Yeah, I subbed on Zeno this season because my team died before the season started. So
Feels bad. Does anybody have any predictions for what we might see out of this grand final?
I think Jasmine will most likely win, but Xeno will give them a hell of a run for their money. That's my base prediction, honestly. Like, Gio, Paulson, Elmo, and Hertz, and Dave Med, and I think they'll run Cookie.
I think you missed
such
out
a
on the most important person in the entire roster.
Yes.
Who?
So
Lau?
it's-
Cookie.
No, Cookie.
I said Cookie at the end.
Oh, I didn't hear you say it.
And that would be versus Sam and Aishu on scouts. Who's roaming for you? Pause. Right?
Pause.
and
Yeah.
Varna.
Pause Varna.
Doge demo, Sean Medic. So Doge is probably
Doge to pound. Yeah.
Doge to pound. Doge will match Paulson quite well, I think.
Ooh. Oofed. I'm getting
Sam
excited,
to
boys.
feed.
Well,
Yeah. Exactly.
I think Varna's a lot. I don't want to say slower as a pocket, but I think Varna walks a lot more than Gio does, and one of Gio's strengths is how explosive he is. So I think Varna will have a better core combo presence for Xeno, whereas Gio will really dictate his team's position and be the playmaker.
Okay. All right, fellas. I believe that's. Oh, yeah. Okay, right. Is anybody aware of the Open Grand Final that's happening in 20 minutes?
I heard.
I'm apparently
I
I
was
know it's
the,
happening, and that's about it.
I heard. I was just gonna pound. I heard. Is Oz gonna pound? Is he the best
All right. So
player?
we've got King and that team versus Big Monstrosity.
They can grind on Pudon.
Yeah, I don't want to mention anything Oz says. So let's just
Notable
move
players.
straight on. Okay.
Notable
Yes.
players would be Eternal.
No.
Because Eternal's
also
been
note,
playing for a while.
They picked Logjam as the first map in the Open Grand Final.
That's huge.
That is huge.
That's huge. I mean, I guess something we could talk a bit more in depth about is the intermediate grand final, which is Liga Super Evil, which is the team with Lammy, Decap, NG, and that lot versus Twitch TV /Skaz with Alt Trickus, Sao, and Zylife and Skaz.
I
and
do want to
Sick Day
make
and
a
that lot.
quick point about the Open Grand
Oh
Finals.
yes, go for it. Bring it on.
Scattle is a Pyro Pub player and has been a good Pyro Pub player for the longest time, and it's really good to see him get into competitive.
Hey,
I'm pretty sure he's owned me a lot of times in High Tower.
He's pretty
Does
good,
he
yeah.
play Pyro in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god. Is he gonna perm a Pyro?
we might. That'd be something to watch.
The name kind of rings a bell.
It does.
From High Tower.
From
pretty sure he's
from
like a-
Nightmares.
Yeah. Whenever I play High Tower, he just farms me, I think.
Yeah.
I think that says
Yes,
more about
into-
your lack of skill.
Alright, I'll go.
All right, fellas. Well, thanks so much for joining us this week here on Recap TV. No, I don't care if we've 8 more minutes. We'll have a little bit more time to set up for the Open Grand Final, Mitch. I'm thinking of you. All right, fellas. Should we just have a little bit of hear a little bit from each one about what might potentially be happening next season for yourself and other rosters involved? Redcoat, have you got anything in the pipeline?
Yeah, well, it was mentioned last time on the
Oh, yes.
podcast. Like, I'm making a team for next season. It's at the moment it's like Sam and UE Scouts, me Demo, Doge, Medic. Our soldiers aren't entirely decided yet. We're like we know kind of who we're looking at playing with, but there are like
Tay and Pause would be so good.
well,
Isn't
yeah,
that
like
just ripping Xeno apart?
Pause is already on a team at the moment, apparently with like Ivan and Arnold and stuff. So yeah, we're going to be scrimming tonight actually, or like our Merc team type thing scrimming tonight.
Awesome.
And against Xeno. So yeah, we'll maybe try a few people that we're looking at.
Cool. And Sean, was there anything that's happening with Xeno? It sounds like you might be losing a few players though, if that's correct.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably done because there's no real way to make a team that can compete with like the team that Redcoat's talking about, with the kind of players that don't want to play next season.
Is there anybody on your team that doesn't want to play next season?
No, I think they are all going to keep playing, but it's just about having enough that it's worth it, because it's not worth being the second or third best team that can't even compete with the best team. At least for me as a medic, like I have no motivation to do that.
Yeah.
So I'll probably either just play in like inter or like low prem with some friends, or not play at all. I'm not really sure.
Fair enough. Anything on for next season, Elmo?
Well, as you've all probably heard, Paulson and Gio are off to Amsterdam to get high and get married. So Jasmine will probably be dying after that. But I'll still be around, and maybe something in the works currently.
Ooh. Sounds exciting.
Redcoat once again.
Looking forward. And Doobie, I think you mentioned it a little bit last week. Is there anything
Yeah. I
anything you were
last
doing?
week that I'm going to be medding this season.
Oh, yes.
So we've actually got a rough team lined up, which is Luna and Lau on Scout, Gooseman Demo, and it's Faithless and Burko soldiers.
Mm.
And we've scrimmed once that I was there, and then another time, and it's been pretty decent. The question will be whether or not Lau's overseas at the moment. So the question will be whether or not he decides to go for another team when he gets back. But yeah, Faithless is coming back, and it's been a pretty it seems decent, honestly.
Sounds like fun.
Just quickly, like talking back about players that are like kind of up and coming or that haven't
yeah.
really played a lot in like the top of Prem but are still really good. Lau is one of those people, I'd say. Like Lau on
Totally,
Scout.
actually, yeah. I agree.
He's mainly just played a ton of pugs on Scout and he's really solid. He's never played on a team, but he's like easily like at least like mechanically like equal to the top of Prem on Scouts.
For sure. All right, fellas. Well, yes, thanks so much for joining me. Big shout outs to Left and Mitch on productions here. And
guys are
yeah, make sure you stick around on this stream to watch the Open Grand Final here. We've been casted by Kenji and Quid coming up. Yeah, so big thanks to Sean, Redcoat, Elmo, Dubious for joining me here to this evening, fellas. And we'll hope to see a fresh episode in the next few coming weeks. This is CappingTV signing off with recap episode 2.